Okay. Hi guys. Probably best to introduce first. So you all, well, apart from Subas, you all know Elliot Costa, partner, Julie Taylor, my PA, myself, practice manager at Taylor's Legal. Then we have Martin McDuff, who is the MD of Red Brick Solutions, the case management software and all his one-stop shop that goes with it. And then we have Prashant, who is our what we call our India connection, who services us from several thousand miles away, along with his team of 17, maybe 18. And one of his guys, looks like his right-hand man, is Subas, who deals with development, etc. Maybe you could give us a quick go, Prashant.
He deals with nearly the same things which every conveyancing firm needs: workflow management, templates, precedence management, linking them, creating the right data sets, linking them to the right fields. So Subhash does that for ALB and a little bit for Proclaim.
Okay, lovely. Thank you for that. Okay, Shama, who's hopefully joining us soon, is another partner. And finally, Paula, who will hopefully be watching this video to get a good idea of well, whether it's expectations or hopes. I'm not sure the right word. So what I'd like to do is give a little summary of where we are, and then maybe we can just have a general chat, really. So, Taylor's Legal, we've been going in it, well, we're in our 16th year. We've been with Red Brick, probably
11?
coming up to, no, I'll say 15 maybe.
Wow.
What do you reckon, Martin? About 15 years? 14,
Yeah,
15?
That would make me only a boy then, Michael. Yeah, it could well be 2008 if memory serves. So yes, it's definitely well over a decade.
Oh yeah, well over a decade. Okay, I've written a few things down just so I don't miss anything. I'm going to be probably more honest. I'll let Shamron. I'm going to probably be more honest because Martin's here, and hopefully you get a better understanding. I've just done the intro, Shama, and now I'm going into my little blurb. Right. So we did about 4 years ago look to go elsewhere. We didn't want to, and I'll explain why in a minute. I've always thought RPM was forward thinking, but feel like that RPM haven't appreciated this new world of digital as much as I would like. And I call it lip service. Things like digital signing, I think that's kind of essential in my world. And now that's the land registry are accepting it. And amongst a few others, apps, for instance. Well, we're going to avoid that by having a perfect portal. Now we have ANZA, and it's kind of exposed where RPM have fallen short. So in reports, OCR across the whole system, and what I've mentioned already, digital signatures, apps. And dare I say the most important part is speed. We've had a traditional problem that is probably about the 4 years old, where I don't know if you experience it better in India, where we can open a document and it can take 20 seconds upwards, possibly freezes, and you wait even longer before you realize it freezes. What is your experience, Prashant, for the guys?
I would say in about 20 seconds it opens. It very rarely freezes for us.
Oh, okay, that's good to know. Okay, now if you're being completely honest, you deal with Proclaim and other case management systems. What's the sort of speed on the cloud environment you are to opening up a document?
I would expect it to be a little quicker, to be honest. A little quicker, not hugely quicker, but a little quicker. And when you move from between screens, so for example, when you move from, let's say, the document screen to the progress screen, there can be a bit of a lag in the screen loading. And that I find strange as to why does that happen. But then again, it's not a huge delay, to be very honest. There's a little bit of.
Okay, in fairness to Martin, I don't want to beat him up here. This is looking at the facts. You know, that's what I'm kind of most interested in. Martin's kindly employed an expert, and he's been liaising with our expert Fash, and I think in the last week or so we've absolutely realised that it's a Fash cloud environment configuration somewhere that's slowing it down even more. So we're totally focused at getting that down to the 9 to 12 seconds that Red Brick are saying is okay in their world. I'm still of the mindset where it should be 3 seconds with maybe 2 additional because of the cloud environment. You know, I think that's fair because I've done my calculations. I've worked out how long everyone can wait during a working day, then multiply it by how many people we've got, and then multiply it by each week, each month. It comes to a serious number, which is, I know Martin's fully aware of the situation, and we're looking at dealing with it, for sure. So let me move on. I just kind of wanted to give everyone a heads up of where we are with that. Now, what I've got a kind of plan for Taylor's Legal that the partners are seen to be on side, which is now we're going to be launching with Perfect Portal soon. That means the whole onboarding process is going to have all the statistics we need, the consistency we need. I mean, the worst part right now is that we get a new client, we send them the quote, and up populates hundreds of pages almost of information, third fault, app, the client, the terms, conditions. Well, people switch off. I know some of our competitors, you just put your name, address, and phone number, or what Perfect Portal is going to do. The client's going to give us the basic information. Great, we've got them. They won't go elsewhere as much. So I expect our conversion rate to increase massively. Right, so I think the onboarding experiences can be as automated as it possibly can be with Perfect Portal. Then post-completion, dealing with Prashant, where everything we tick a box on RPM, it says completed, and away Prashant and his team get on with the work, including the requisitions. All being well, near the end of May, Prashant has got a robot that logs straight into the land registry, picks up the information, checks it against RPM and all the information we've got in there. No need for an API because all they're doing is searching for the data, and therefore that will hopefully make that just a little bit easier to deal with. You'll learn the expertise required for requisitions, but I think you probably know that already, so I think it's just doing it again and again and again until it's all done. And the call for onshore, which is at Taylor's, is just occasional awkward requisitions that need probably a little bit more expertise. Right, so we've got the beginning process dealt with, including submitting the searches as soon as we get the money in, and we got the post-completion kind of sorted, albeit not right now. Now I'm looking for Taylor's Legal, the solicitors, the support staff to deal with from the point of the searches all the way through to exchange and then completion. And that will focus us on making less mistakes, being more obedient with the software, so that we follow a process and we can focus our work, our teams on that small but massive area of preparation for exchange and completion. And that is where I'm at when I've asked Subas and Pauline, was it Paula to help out, because I can see that there are so many areas where we need to improve the case management system, templates, the onboarding process with Perfect Portal. Yeah, go on now.
Oh, sorry, just let me give it up. Completely everything you said, Michael. I think just to give a bit of context, historically, we've been with Red Brick for 12 odd years. I'm not going to say 13, that's a unlikely number. I think historically, we've always been too busy to manage Red Brick. We've just kind of been like headless chickens, just running forward, not really having the time and the expertise internally to actually get to grips with the workflow. Shammer's taken the lead in trying to start that now. But I think just building on from Michael, we're looking, I suppose, to almost turbocharge that and say, right, this is what we want to do within the next whatever time frame Michael comes out with. And it looks like Subhash might be the person to help us at Taylor's Legal do what we want Red Brick to do for us, and having the time to put the templates on, help with the workflows, do the nitty gritty stuff, which we probably don't have the time, I suppose, Michael. It's difficult. Michael can't even get me to shut files down, let alone, do a workflow. So that's as I see it, as sort of the partner using it on a day-to-day basis. It's Red Brick does a lot. We don't use it to its full potential. We just want to have someone to say, right, this is what we want it to do for us. This is the workflow we want. These are the templates we want in it. Go off and do it.
Okay, I agree, Elliot, everything you've said as well.
I agree with you as well, Michael.
Thank you. Martin and Ryan have kind of said to me, in 4 or 5 years ago or whatever, that actually you need someone admin. You need someone to be able to work the system. So to ask Shammer to do a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's just not going to work, because you guys, the partners, the solicitors, the support staff, have got their workload. This is outside their workload. And I think I finally convinced the partners, plus put it to the back burner, that, you know what, we've got to make the commitment. And we need someone, or in this case, maybe 2 people, to deal with this in a massive way. So we've let it alone, and I'm going to give you an example. So we've got Ryan, is our area manager, or whatever you want to call him, of Taylor's Legal. He does a great job of doing this, but has only got so much time to do it. So the latest one, where we started a new workflow back in November, December. Even though we're piloting it, it's not working the way it should do. Where we need someone, let's say full-time, to make sure it works, to make sure the fusion with ANZA works, to make sure that Paula / Ryan can do the things behind the scenes that they need to do that we can't do. So I'm hoping Subas will be able to learn the system, become an administrator, and kind of work out where you need to liaise with Red Brick, what you need them to do, and maybe learn from their expertise as well what you can and can't do, because I think that's probably quite essential as well. Shamma, did you want to kind of add anything?
No, I think that's everyone said basically what needed to be said. Like you said, the workflows have been created. We've done what we can, but we lack the time and the technical skills to really be a full-time administrator. Okay,
yeah, so I agree. So Subas, I think The ultimate issue is learning about us, which I'm sure Prashant can tell you quite a lot. But really, the only real way to learn is to speak to the people that use the system, what they need and what they don't need, what they're short of. But I'm going to make it further difficult by saying I don't think most of the team know what they want. I don't think they'll just do whatever's put in front of them. So I feel like I always kind of need to have a bit of input, because the legal world in conveyancing has changed, in the last 5 years dramatically. Compliance, anti-money laundering, IDs, that they've gone. Everything's gone forward. The fact that I'm even talking about a robot logging into the system, and that's fantastic. That's the way forward. Unfortunately, there are 6,000 other conveyancing firms in England and Wales that mostly don't care. In fact, I tried to get a quote from a competitor just recently, a few miles away. I did it. I was trying to actually get hold of someone, but I couldn't, because they're working from home. They haven't got a system where you can speak to someone. As simple as that. So a lot of our experience is other firms just don't want to catch up. They don't care about technology. They don't. It's like an old boys network where they don't want anything new in the office environment is never embraced. I'm probably the driving force of embracing technology at Taylor's Legal, and I think when you look into this is the mentality of us on shore and where we should be, because out of the 6,000 firms, I reckon there's probably 1,000 firms that are absolute hot on it. We're trying to be paper light, almost paper free, which 5,000 firms, no way. They think we're mad. But there's a good several hundred that are already there. They've been there for years.
Michael, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking on a sort of a practical basis. I know sort of Shama, I'm sorry to sort of dump you in it, Shama. I know Shama started to take the lead in terms of workflows and management. It's probably, I'm thinking it's probably more sort of Shama being one of the points of contact for Subhash in terms of what we want the system to do. Because I think from my point of view, and jump in, Shama, and rescue me a bit, it's really getting our workflows, our tick boxes, in a format that we can say to Subhash, look, this is what we want our workflows to be, and every time and this is what it should mean in the background, and it should then automatically generate this particular document which we've drafted, etc., which is pretty much exactly what it does, but we need to manage it, slim it down a bit outside. And would that be fair to say, Shama and Michael?
Yeah, so from our side, we've done the workflow. We know what we want it to say. So we'll be communicating to Subhash to say, this is what we want it to do. But who will teach Subhash how to put that, how to run Red Brick? Will that be Martin? Will your person be teaching? I don't know how that's going to work.
So she said,
Michael?
Yeah, I think I can answer that. It's almost like someone has to come in the office. I mean, but we're in the virtual world. You don't have to come in the office. I think minimally that Subhash would need to be taught to be an administrator. That's kind of first leg.
Yeah.
Then once Subhash is reasonably competent, then kind of to do a bit more of a case study, because this post-completion, for instance, I'm talking about, if I didn't say it or push it in any direction, yes, we might have had some input from Prashant at some stage, but the partners wouldn't go for it. They wouldn't be saying to me in a partners meeting, right, where can we get someone else to do our post-completion? So whilst I completely agree with Elliot and that Shama should be involved, I'd still like to be involved, because...
Oh, no, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a project with all of us, really, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think minimally, and is for Paula to teach Subas everything. Then probably best to say for Paula to say what she's capable of doing, where she can help.
And will Paula be more available than Ryan? Because I think that's where we've fallen down previously, that Ryan obviously only has limited time for us. I think that, you know, this is going to need a dedicated time, 9 to 5 for, you know, a few consecutive weeks.
Well, what I believe we've done, and Martin can confirm in a minute, is we've kind of settled on something to employ Paula's services one whole day a week, which and really after the initial teaching of the admin to Subas is kind of for Subas to have a once a week meeting with Paula to say, right, I've discovered this, what about that, and you know, feedback off of each other to get to where we need to get to, which is, you know, everything's up to date, using conditional logic to its maximum, getting the reports we need. I mean, I've got to say to everyone, I cannot tell how many files we've got. I can't, you know, the system doesn't say how many files are pre-exchange, pre-completion. It just doesn't say it. So we've kind of got 3/4 of a system outside Rebrick, which shouldn't be outside Rebrick. There's a report there, and that's what we should be able to press some buttons, get the report of exactly where we are, whether it's, you know, even for ANZA, for AP1s, SDLTs, that's great, that's developed. But please, Subas, if you can remember that onshore, the team are a little bit reluctant to tick boxes. I don't know why. I don't know whether it's supervision, whether it's the fact that the system's a bit slow and I'll get back to it later, I'll do it later, whether it takes too long to tick a box and then go back into the file to create another one to tick a box. You know, I don't know, is the truth. Personally, I feel it's majority to do with speed, but I also feel probably half speed and half the team leaders not really saying, why did you not cross that? You got to cross that off. You got to tick it. Got to tick it. You don't tick it, you know, keep on at them until they tick it. But each team leader, they've got enough to do with everything. So, you know, I don't know. So I shouldn't waffle on. I don't know. Martin, how does the 1 day a week sit with you? I think if Shama had her way, it would be a collaboration of, you know, half a week of Paula and half a week of Subas, or the whole week of Subas.
Sure. I think, I say thank you very much for all the contributions so far. I think for us, I know Ryan, last time we spoke, which was early last week or the end of the week before, he has quite a number of significant projects on with you guys at the minute. So it's always a case of, well, which one's priority? And of course, it's either the one that shouts loudest or the one that's most recently landed. And some of those early ones haven't got across the line. So I think this one of the keys for the success of this initiative has to be about the prioritization of the work, whether we, you know, regardless of the amount of time and effort we're all going to put into it. And I think where we have struggled historically, specifically with Taylor's Legal, is the theoretical, as in this is what the business wants, and then actually when we come down to deploy it, you know, people who are going to use it on a daily basis, there's been a little bit of disconnect really about why something's happening. So perhaps that hasn't been explained to the individuals. As you know, I'm going to say Michael because I'm not, you know, I'm just saying if you know from the business's point of view, this is really important for Taylor's Legal. I've got big concerns about compliance or fraud or whatever it might. I don't know. I'm just making something up as an example, and therefore it is imperative that the following happens. I don't necessarily believe, certainly historically, that all of the users have been aware of that, and it's been like, oh, you know, it gets brushed aside and overlooked. So consequently, I think it's key for us as partners in this initiative that we work out, well, who's going to make the decisions about the new workflows, and that's got to be, I would have thought, with consultation with the business, i.e. you, Michael, who was driving this and saying, no, we must forge ahead in this direction. Quite agree with you, incidentally, that's great. But then also through engagement with those people that are going to be using it, because if they just see it as another hurdle that's been put in their way without understanding why, or that, okay, you've lost a little bit on the swings, but look at what you gain on the roundabouts. Yeah, the sales job is going to be very hard, and quite often I think we felt that we're doing the sales job on new initiatives, and trying to get people over the line to use something that really they don't either want to use or don't see the benefit of using. But if everybody's on board with this and understands what we're doing and why, then hopefully that would help. From our point of view, obviously we can certainly provide whatever administrator training is required, and that would seem to be a great starting point, so that somebody within your business is going to know far more than, with respect, Shaman does, or not necessarily know more, but at least have the time to go and be effective in that area, who doesn't have an active caseload and all the other responsibilities that come with the job and the role. But I suppose what I need to make sure is that Subhas also has the those insights with regards to what the business needs. I'm sure, never met you, but I'm sure you're very capable of doing that. But do you actually know what the business needs? How are we going to define that as a group of individuals to make sure that we don't go off on another project? We add this to the project pile and find that we're not doing things in the right order or for the right people at the right time.
Thank you, Martin. Maybe Subhas, have you got anything to say from what you've heard so far?
Not much. As you have said, I totally agree with you. First of all, I need the guidance. No. So of course, I know the workflows and how it works, all the templates, all that things I've done in LV, so that I can also excavate in this Red Brick also.
Okay, that's fantastic. I think what I do agree with Martin is to structure this as much as possible. And to start off in one direction before we start, before Shama or Elliot or I say, oh, what about this and what about that? I totally agree with that. But I would set you out a challenge, Martin, or maybe everyone. How do I get 45 people to listen? I've 16 years I've failed. I can't do it. I've tried read and understood messages. Oh, Elliot's got the answer.
One thing that Red Brick allows you to do is to go to the next step without having said you've done the previous step. I can bypass the whole of compliance if I wanted to, or tick, and I could just go straight to completion. So I don't know whether we take a tough approach that, unless you tick the boxes, you cannot submit, unless you tick the first set of boxes, you can't put your searches in, unless you know what I'm saying? You have to go through the whole process to get to the exchange box and the completion box before you're allowed to, progress. We could almost make you have to press that button, otherwise you can't get to the next step.
I've got a feeling Martin's probably can easily come back to say why that wouldn't work.
I think we've tried that before. And people have, there's been mutiny within the business. I think the business has matured. I think the business certainly has matured, I'd like to think, where we are now not having that physical file as much, and we are now relying on Red Brick. And I think if we as the business made the decision that you actually have to tick every single box on that page before it lets you get to the next step, again, that's almost a practice management stroke partners decision. Do we say that to everybody? It's just one option. That way we won't be in a situation where Michael, when he looks at 5, you said, well, everything is red. How on earth have you got to exchange? How's that possible? Completion. How is that possible? That's a good question. But maybe if we made it so that you have to actually tick the box. That's what I'm saying, really.
Well, this is where I'm hoping Subhas and Paula can come into this, where I think we should be using the conditional logic way more than we are at the moment. So if it's a cash purchaser, well, away removes everything to do with a mortgage on the if it's help to buy, well, bang, up pops 6 items for help to buy. That takes a lot of work and a lot of organising. But if we
Michael, I think that's one of the key things, that when we've made changes historically up until now, we've been working with a broken workflow and trying to improve it. But what we've done with the new workflow is that we've started afresh, and we've tested it, and we've put a manual together, and that will now be launched. Whereas with the old workflow, we had lots of different people come in at different times, interpret it different. There was never a manual for it. So no one universally knows what each step means. And then changes have been put in at different times, and that's been fed through to the teams in different ways. So some people have taken it on board, some have ignored it. But that's what the beauty of what we're doing now. We're starting afresh with a new workflow, which will come with its own manual, a step-by-step guide. So everyone will understand what each step is and follow it. And this might be me being the optimist, but I really think that this is the difference between what's come in the past and what's going to happen in the future, because we're not fixing something that's broken. We're starting with a new product here.
Yeah, look, I think, Shami, you've hit the nail on the head as far as previous kind of updates and tweaks are concerned. Going forward, because the way the system's set up, it means that the new workflow might be in place, but the old workflow for the other 4,000 other files that we've got are still going to be done the old way. And this kind of goes back to the message that we do or don't get across to everyone, or do or don't get done by everyone, is, well, they've done it the old way. This new way is one particular workflow. So how many people out of 45 are actually going to get to do that one workflow?
Michael, if I may just add to this, I think from what I have been seeing and working with you guys for 2 years, what you guys have just done, or rather Shama and Amy have done with this new workflow, is the template of how this collaboration of all the people over here needs to actually work to bring in all the changes that we need. So if you ask me, Shama and Amy just didn't do that workflow on their own, or just thinking this should be here, this should be here, or what's the logic, how does it work, we'll just do it our way. They actually went back, and I know they did speak to the team. They spoke to me as a user in terms of what I do with the steps over here. They spoke to Ryan, and then Ryan was on the call. Shama and Amy would be on the call. I would be on the call to discuss, okay, can we have this logic or could we have that? So what I'm trying to say is that that template for this arrangement has actually been put in at the right time by this new workflow which has come in. If we can follow this template approach of collaborating and getting over the line with all these individual things that we want to achieve through the optimization of Red Brick, it will work. One of those things would be not just giving an access to Subhash for the admin access, but someone then, it could be Shama, for example, walking him through the various admin functions of Red Brick. Because Subhash, with his conveyancing head of working on the admin side of another tool, will quickly get, okay, so how does the logic work? And then and then as a business, you guys decide, okay, you know what, we've attacked the first bit, which is the new workflow on these matters. Now, what do we do with the next workflow? Once we've gotten that, I think then seeking in all those conditional logics, which we really want to build, because that is your classic way of proofing your system, anyone just messing around. And when someone still messes around, which they will, because you need to keep your tool open, I have seen with other case management systems that I work, where some firms have really gotten it highly, how would I say, programmed for the conditional logic to work. And that is, if something is out of the ordinary, the fee earners are able to still go through it, but there's a there are red flags which go straight to the compliance head and to the partners. So the fee earner's done whatever they do, but the compliance head and the partners are aware, and now it's up to them. What do they question? How do they question? And they do it. So I think this is how I would do it. Perfect time. The template for how it should be done has been put in with this new workflow.
Okay, I totally agree with that, and I totally agree with Shama what you've said. I think why we've kind of got to this stage is because we've brought the new work type in, but we've not done any reports on it. We've not seen what's worked, what hasn't worked. We haven't kept an eye on it. So one thing came up last week. There was a box that wasn't configured in the completion statement, and that caused a problem. But should we have seen that? Should we, these things in reality, if one of your team who's doing this workflow sees something, I fear that they just ignore it, they bypass it, they shortcut it. And then we go back to where we are now, which is a 13-year-old system that we haven't updated, and I'm talking only the workflow, that is. So whilst it sounds absolutely fantastic what you're saying, Prashant, I would really love to drive towards that. So if the strategy is that let's get all the workflows up and running the way they should, then I'm fine with that. That's great, because that's going to give us all more confidence. But we do need to keep an eye on it and not just say, right, this is your workflow and that's it, and we're done. To work in conjunction with that is the templates. The templates, some of them haven't been touched, or we played lip service to them a year ago, and we changed a few that were for people that were helping administer the systems over 10 years ago. Some things have never changed. So we definitely need to be looking at that. I don't know, can both be done at the same time? When you're on a workflow and a template comes up and we kind of see the template. I don't know how much, Subhas, you'll be able to look at a template and see if it's right or wrong, or do you need more input?
He can, to be very honest. A lot of the times he will be able to see it. Sometimes he'll need help because it might be there are two identical precedents, and even I'll be confused as to which one is to be followed.
So I imagine Subhas might be able to utilize some information he's got from other templates elsewhere, and yeah, that sounds great. So we'll go ahead with the workflow first. So the way I think initially, if Paula can teach Subhas the admin and everything to do with that 1 day a week, then Subhas can look into that particular workflow, see what we've done with it so far, because I think we've got about 13 or so examples of where we're at. I don't think any of them have got through to completion yet. I'm not sure, but there will be things in there that are not quite right that we just haven't noticed yet. And I agree with everyone that.
Sorry, Michael, that list of 13 that you're talking about, is that the 13 things that are on Ryan's to-do list?
No. I don't know. There's anything.
Will Paula be doing the things that are on Ryan's to-do list, or is Paula simply training Subhas?
Well, the way I see it at the beginning is training Subhas, but that's not going to take more than 2 weeks, I imagine, if that at all.
Okay, and then thereafter she will be responsible for those tasks on Ryan's to-do list?
Well, I think that will work in conjunction with Ryan and Subhas. Is that fair, Martin?
Well, I think partly the reason for joining the call was so that we could establish what the responsibilities were. So, I mean, at the moment, I don't have a preference personally. I mean, Ryan's obviously at a pace is working through those as he has time available. Paula is being dedicated to the business for this project. Quite whether you want to split the responsibilities, that might be a bit messy. I think personally I would prefer that, you know, Paula spent time working exclusively with you on this initiative, and if as part of that Ryan comes in and produces reports, etc., that complement that, or carries on whatever else he's working on, then great. But I think Paula would be your main point of contact here, but she will inevitably lean on Ryan when we get to the stage for some of the more advanced conditional logic, perhaps some of the reporting requirements that you've talked about, perhaps some of the surfacing of that, those compliance issues if people aren't ticking the boxes. You know, you say, well, people haven't ticked them, but I don't know what the consequences are. But if the consequences are, well, they've been highlighted by the system, and I don't know, Shama, you are, Elliot, Michael, I don't mind who gets the reports that Rubric can generate, but if that's telling you every morning that one of your fee earners or colleagues hasn't completed the tasks, then that's the conversation in the room at the time, isn't it? You know, we've built this new workflow, it's for everyone's benefit. Why aren't you doing it? You've got to get on.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's for you to deliver and police, I suppose, within the business. But my thoughts would be that Paula would be best spent providing administrator training for Subhas, and Ryan can continue in the wings. You know, he's certainly not kind of finished with the account, far from it, but he will continue to work on the existing projects.
Perfect. So in terms of the sale workflow, the manual, that's been written up and is ready to action. So that could be the first one that Paula and Subhash work on. And maybe they work on setting that up together so that Paula can train Subhash by setting up one. I don't know what the best way is training, but setting up one together. And by the time they've worked on that, I'll have the other one set up.
Perfect. Sounds like a good. Yeah, I mean, I'm really confident, Shama, that if you're our main point of contact within the business and say, right, either I've decided because I've got the authority, or I've been away and got the collective buy-in of everybody, and this is the path we're going. Fantastic. So you're the voice for Taylor's Legal. Paula and Subhas are then taking your instruction to come back and deliver you something that you've spec'd for the business, and then we work at it on that basis.
Yeah, I think that's the best way of doing it. I will consult with Michael and everyone else, but
course,
then the buck has got to, we can't all be sitting in one meeting. It's time wasting, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I mean, if you're coordinating, I'm being slightly presumptuous, but if Michael's got from a compliance point of view or from a regulatory point of view, that's for you to gather his requirements.
Yeah.
And then Elliot's saying, well, from a practice point of view and from a relationship point of view with my introducers, I want this dealt with. So you're the conduit for that. So then we've just got your or one person's instruction, but in this example we're talking about is you're then relaying that to Paula and Subhas, and they're going to work away and deliver something back to you that meets those requirements. And then that's for you to sign off and report back, I guess, to your colleagues, isn't it? And say, yeah, we're good to go with this now. I'm satisfied. It does what it says it does on the tin. It does what we asked it to do.
Okay, I'm happy with that. That sounds like a great idea. The only thing I would say, Shama, is if your work means that you're going to spend less time on it, and get me in, and I'll happily kind of take over for a while you've got a busy month or whatever it might be.
Perfect.
Okay. Oh, maybe a little bit down the line, we might kind of have a meeting with everyone, maybe for half an hour a month or something like that, just to see that. Yeah. Okay, well, that will play by ear, and I'll take your lead on that, Shama.
Okay, perfect.
Michael, what's the next step then in making this happen?
Well, I think it's Prashant and Martin about the availability of their guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to reach out to Prashant or drop me an email either way, and we'll work out the first date for that administrator training. So we can start the knowledge transfer. I think probably 2 days would be certainly comprehensive enough to give a very good understanding of certainly what Redbrick's available, what it's possible to do. And then really, I think we perhaps then loop back in with Shama and say, look, have you got the new workflow for us now? And the two of them then work on delivering that together, because the administrator training whilst we'll show you how to do something, obviously as everybody will know, it's by doing it that you're probably going to learn best. So we'll work through those examples together, I would have thought.
Martin, by any chance, would you have any videos?
Yeah, we've got a we've got a library full of them, both for users and administrators on lots of key tasks, whether it's conditional logic, setting up conditional workflows, conditional logic in the documents off the back of that. So I'll make that library available to you, and
Yeah,
then you
that
can
will
you can
help.
review
We can
those.
speed up our learning.
They're just YouTube videos, so you can view those at your convenience. Yeah.
Okay. Prashant, I wouldn't be ultimately offended if that was an answer as well, that Subas is able to do some videos for the team so that they can fully appreciate and understand as well. Because no offense, Shama, but manuals sometimes get lost in, it's just, how much of a manual can you read in one go and take it on board? But videos, maybe.
I think it's a combination of them both. That's what we plan to do.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll let Martin and Prashant liaise. Julie, if you could put them together in an email. I think you might actually already have an email of each other's email.
I don't think I have Martin's email.
Possibly, but if Julie's going to cover around, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Thank
Julie,
you.
if you could make that happen, that'd be great. Look, it might not show on my face, but I'm very excited that this is actually happening. I'd say several years past its sell-by date where we should have dealt with it before. And I'm very excited, Subas. Prashant's really built you up. So I fear there's a lot of expectations, and hopefully you can deliver. And I know Martin well enough now that whoever he's got in his team is going to definitely be good enough to deal with everything.
Good stuff. Yeah, good to meet you. Thanks for your time, guys.
Lovely. Okay. Anyone else? No, I think we're good. Lovely. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Thanks all. See you
Thanks
guys.
all.
Yeah.
Michael, can we stay on?
Yeah.
I just told someone else to go, but I rang Laura.
Oh, hold on.